Mines by H Rider Haggard. It's one of the first novels that he wrote. I think it's maybe his third novel. It was incredibly popular. It sold really well. Not as much as the book he wrote after this, which was She, but this is still a very popular book, and it is absolutely fantastic. One of the best books I've ever read. I really, really loved reading it. It's about a character, Alan Quatermain, who's now become quite famous, and he's a famous African explorer, and he's quite a strange figure. He sort of lives in Africa all the time. He's known amongst the natives, and he's very, very well respected, and he's not so much known by Europeans, except that they hear from other people, as in they hear from other Africans they talk to, that he's a guy that is sort of accepted by their culture. So the story essentially follows these two Europeans, a Norwegian and a British man. And the British man has lost his brother, who's gone missing hunting for a sort of a lost civilization and possibly treasure deep in the African interior. So he's heard about the mystery of King Solomon's mines, and he might have got hold of a map that led him there, but he's disappeared. So this English guy hooked up with his Norwegian friend and decided, we're going to go and we're going to find my brother. He doesn't care about the gold, he doesn't care about the mines, because they're diamond mines. He doesn't care about that. All he wants to do is find his brother. So they start investigating, and they immediately discover that the only man in Africa who could even have any idea of where the mines are is Alan Quatermain, because apparently he's got a map. So right at the beginning of the book they meet Quatermain, and he agrees to go with them to try and find the mines and find the guy's brother. Now, one of the best things about my version that I got is that it comes with the map in this little foldout, which is one of the great things that H Rider Haggard always did in his books, is kind of add little elements like that. So the heroes go off together and they cross this huge desert on their way to find the mines, and it's sort of like a survival story. You know, they get very close to starvation and death. They have a servant with them who's a native, and once they kind of reach the other side of the desert, a whole new adventure begins. There's a sort of lost civilization, secrets are uncovered about their servant. There's also lots of sort of fantasy elements about the actual mines themselves, and I don't really want to tell you too much because it's such a great story and you've got to read it yourself. There's sort of two things that I really wanted to mention. Firstly, it is so gory. You would not believe how gory this book is. I can't believe that it was always marketed as a children's novel. Even now it's kind of considered a great children's book and put in the children's section. It is unbelievably gory. People get their heads cut off, limbs cut off. You hear all descriptions about it, torture, loads of stuff like that. It is full on. Can't believe it. The other thing is, obviously it's set in Africa, it's written in the 19th century. You're obviously going to think it's racist. Some people do say that it's racist. I've read the whole book and I didn't think it was particularly racist. Alan Quatermain is well respected by the natives. He treats them as brothers, and they treat him in the same fashion. Now obviously the Europeans aren't so sure, and there's a few kind of questions asked, and there's like this idea about them being the masters and having servants, that kind of thing. But it's all treated as totally unimportant to the plot, and the native characters are far more important to the plot than their kind of place in life or anything like that. It really isn't racist in the slightest bit, and I do think that there's also another opinion out there that H Rider Haggard was surprisingly sensitive to the issue compared with other writers of the same kind of time. So ignore that, read it, it's a fantastic book, it's a great story. King Solomon's Mines.